as you're approaching drawing type, it's a good idea to take your sample of type if you have it. I like to photocopy it or print it out this way so that it's easy to move around on my board, and draw a box around it very lightly so that you can see what the aspect ratios are. What is the width versus the height ratio? I do it on the X height, also do it on the ascender, since we're dealing with an F that has an ascender at the top. And then it makes it easier for you to match that here on your paper. So I'm going to go ahead and just draw a very light line here and try to match that box. I think that's about where it should be. Your graph paper is really there as a helper. It's not there to boss you around or tell you what to do. It just tells you what's straight up and down, what's square, and what's maybe a little rectangular. It looks like that F would really be out a little bit further. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw one more guideline here on where the serifs end, and that is probably about right here. So that I think is a pretty good match for what you're doing, what we're trying to do. We're trying to enlarge this F in a larger space. This is really an exercise. It's not the way you would, approach every project, but it's an exercise in learning how to see. It's becoming what I call a visual athlete, where you see a shape and you match it. An athlete on the baseball field, hears the ball get hit and he matches where the ball is. It's the same thing. You just have to be at the same place at the right time, and you have to draw this shape at the right width, at the right height, so that it matches your sample. So I'm more concerned about the inside of the shape and less concerned about the edge. Now, most of my students obsess about the edge, and you will too. You think, well, if I could just draw a nice clean edge line around that shape, and then I could spend the next 15 minutes therapeutically filling it in. It's a very inefficient way of drawing type, because you don't really know what the shape is until after you've filled it in. And it could take you a very long time to draw that clean outline around the shape, and only to find out that it's the wrong shape after you've filled it in. So I like to focus mostly on the mass of the character and find the edge. You just kind of tease the edge out. And once you're fairly confident you've got the weight right and you've got the position right, then you can clean that edge up. But I never draw the edge bolder than the actual inside of the letter. Okay, I think it's time to sharpen this. There's a little piece of cotton that they put right here, so it allows you to clean the crumbs off of your lead. And at this point, I'm going to pay more attention to the white shape that I'm drawing than I am going to pay to the black shape that I'm drawing, because there's this nice little hook that is formed by the terminal of the F and the crossbar of the F. And in order to draw that correctly, I need to draw the white shape. And I think I haven't really established the ascender height. I've got to match that right there. It's probably about like that. And I'm going to lean over, and so we know that ball is going to kiss the edge of this guideline that I drew here. And I'm really paying more attention now to that white space, that little hook. And again, I bring the mass along with me so that the edge doesn't All right, now it's time to get the eraser shield in action here. I put too much weight on the shoulder of that F, so I'm going to pull that off very quickly. Don't be tempted to try to use these curved strokes inside of the eraser shield to draw the curved strokes that you have in your type. They won't match. But you can use the curved strokes to pull off, you know, a piece of, just a little bit of weight, you know, around these curved areas. And then you come back and you fix it. I like to be able to rotate my artwork so that you can approach these curves from more convenient approaches. It's useful sometimes to keep a piece of paper and rest your hand on that paper. You can move it around a little easier, but more importantly, if you're inclined to sweat a little bit, that will create some issues with the tracing paper. It will start to ripple and wrinkle, and it won't look as good, especially if you're doing a whole word and you have to have your hand over some of the characters that you've already drawn that will prevent you from smearing them as badly, because the graphite will smear. I like to use an HB lead. It's hard enough to get a nice sharp crisp edge, but soft enough to make it nice and dark. This takes a lot of patience. But it's important that you draw your characters precisely. Don't expect to fix too much digitally when you start vectorizing it. If you haven't pinned it down here, you're going to flounder once you digitize this and put it on your computer. So I really like to pin things down before I do that, because it's kind of a no-brainer once you get it in the computer. Okay, I've got this a little too heavy on this side. Let me pull this over here so I can see the relationship. At this point, I'm confident, I know where the edge is, especially here at the X height, so I can start using my eraser shield as a guide, as a tool to clean that edge up. But I try to be careful not to be too dark with the pencil. You don't want to create a ditch of graphite that you can't erase later if you need to.